Major Garrett is joining us now to talk a little bit more about this. Major, you know, we're not being hyperbolic when we say this is history making. This is unprecedented. This has never happened before.
Right. No, that's quite true. And that's one of the reasons that the nation has been worried about this, I would say collectively anxious, for the better part of a week and a half when the former president first made the suggestion that he was going to be arrested and indicted. And everyone's been asking. I've been getting texts from friends all over the country for that entire time. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? The country's been wondering, is this moment going to arrive? Well, we're now in the process. That moment has arrived. We don't know the details of the indictment. We don't know what this process of Trump flying to New York, surrendering, being booked and arraigned in a mugshot and all that's going to look like. That will add another layer of trauma, plus whatever happens outside of the facility in which that procedure takes place. All of that will be absorbed in the next week or so, and the country will be experiencing something it's never seen before. But on that one point, Anne-Marie, I think it's worth pointing out. On the last day that he was president of the United States, Bill Clinton made an arrangement with the independent counsel. He gave up his law license and he paid a fine. Why? Because he had a reasonable suspicion that the independent counsel might indict him for lying in the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Spiro Agnew was vice president of the United States. He took kickbacks while he was vice president. He pled guilty to a felony as vice president. He was indicted. Richard Nixon was pardoned by Gerald Ford. Why? Because the president, Gerald Ford, had a reasonable expectation that the former president of the United States, Richard Nixon, would be what? Indicted for crimes linked to Watergate. So the idea that we've never thought about possibly bringing criminal charges against a former president is not true. What is true and what is history-making is now it has happened.
And, you know, in terms of the way the former president is reacting to this, I mean, you read his statement, right? This is not just, and he said it before, it's not just an attack on him, it's an attack on the people who support him. And it's not just an attack on him, it's an attack on the systems. It's, you know, it's a similar language to what we saw when he talked about an unfair election. Now he's talking about an unfair judicial system, another one of our institutions that helps keep everything running properly.
The election was fair, validated, and legally defended in court more than 60 times. That's never been true, though the former president says it over and over again, and a good number of his supporters tend to believe that. None of that is true. He can allege, as other defendants have, that there is something political about this prosecution. Go ahead, make that argument. And also, you better have a legal argument once we know the details of the indictment. Now, if there are as many charges as it has been suggested, more than 30, we haven't verified that here at CBS, but other reports suggest there could be that many, then it will not just be about the Stormy Daniels situation. It'll be about other business records and other conduct of the Trump organization. That would make this a broader, more comprehensive set of allegations and would make the legal response from the former president all the more important to wage and possibly take some of the politics, though not all of it, out of the equation.
That is really interesting, Major. That's news to me. Thank you very much.